Becoming king sounds awesome, until you realize it comes with budgets, betrayals, and way too many people calling you, Your Majesty. Today, we're diving into 5 anime where the main character doesn't just survive in a new world, they rule it. Whether they planned it or not. Anime where the main character becomes a king. Overlord. What happens when your favorite game shuts down, but you don't log out? You wake up as a skeleton overlord, and accidentally start world domination. Welcome to Overlord. Ain's Ulgaon, formerly just a regular office worker named Suzuki Satoru, gets trapped in a VR MMORPG as his game avatar, a towering undead sorcerer with world-ending powers and a throne room full of NPCs who now think he's a literal god. And because he can't find other players or a way home, he does the only logical thing, conquer the world. You know, casually. But here's the twist. Ain's isn't some evil mastermind. He's just pretending to be one because everyone around him assumes he's a genius. Every move he makes gets misinterpreted as 4D chess, even when he's just improvising and praying no one notices. His minions are loyal, terrifying, and way too enthusiastic. Especially Albedo. She's obsessed. Like, screenshot your voice chat history, obsessed. The tone of Overlord walks a fine line. It's dark fantasy, sure, there are battles, betrayals, and plenty of morally gray decisions, but it's also laced with humor. Like when Ain's kills someone in 2 seconds, then panics because he forgot to ask them a question. Or when he tries to be menacing and ends up terrifying an entire village into declaring a national holiday. The world building is dense. You'll get kingdoms, politics, secret cults, dragon lords, and enough lore to make a wiki admin cry tears of joy. And through it all, Ain's is playing catch-up. He doesn't know the rules of this new world, but he's the most powerful being in it, so now, he has to act like he knows what he's doing. No pressure. And while the show has its fair share of action, magic duels, mass destruction, and brutal fights, it's not about flashy hero moments. It's about control, strategy, subtlety. It's about watching Ain's manipulate events without even realizing he's doing it. He's the boss everyone fears, but behind the scenes, he's just Googling how to rule a country in his head. Opening square bracket. So if you're in the mood for an anime where the protagonist is absurdly overpowered, accidentally terrifying, and somehow still likable, Overlord is your kingdom. Just be warned. Once you enter the Great Tomb of Nazarick, you're not watching a hero rise, you're watching a villain build an empire. And it's strangely glorious. How a realist hero rebuilt the kingdom. Some isekai protagonists get swords. Others get dragons. Kazuya-sama, he gets a budget report. And somehow, it's awesome. So here's the setup. Kazuya's minding his own business when he gets summoned to a fantasy world in crisis. But instead of fighting monsters, he ends up negotiating debt relief. The king takes one look at him and goes, "You're smart. Great, take the throne, I'm out." And just like that, our dude becomes king of a financially ruined kingdom with zero direction and a bunch of panicked nobles. But Kazuya doesn't freak out. No flashy weapons, no magic spells, just raw intellect and a master's degree in public administration. He basically speedruns kingdom management using modern Earth knowledge. Resource allocation, infrastructure reform, hiring based on merit. He's turning a medieval country into a startup, and honestly, it works better than it should. What makes Kazuya interesting isn't that he's overpowered, it's that he's methodical. He doesn't shout his way to victory or randomly unlock some hidden power. He listens, plans, delegates. He brings in farmers, songwriters, engineers, even a talking wolf girl who can run logistics. This man builds a government like he's playing Civilization 6 on hard mode. And yeah, there's a harem. You saw that coming, but even that is handled with surprising maturity. He actually talks to his fiancées. He respects their opinions. The political marriages feel earned, not just fanservice. It's like if The Bachelor was written by someone who took economics seriously. The show still has its fantasy elements, magic, battles, talking creatures, but the real battles are fought in council chambers and behind supply chains. You get the sense that every tiny reform Kazuya makes matters. It's not flashy, but it's clever, and it makes you root for him. He's not trying to be a hero. He's trying to build a future. So if you want an anime where the main character becomes a king, not by force, but by fixing the plumbing, balancing the books, and actually listening to his advisors, how a realist hero rebuilt the kingdom is your jam. No sword required, just spreadsheets. Demon Lord, retry. One moment you're running a game server. The next, you're trapped inside it, wearing a suit, looking like a mob boss, and suddenly everyone thinks you're Satan. Classic isekai. Demon Lord, Retry, throws an average middle-aged game developer, Akira Uno, into the world of his own MMORPG. But not as himself, he ends up inside the body of his game's final boss, the impossibly powerful and completely terrifying Demon Lord Hakuto Kanai. Which sounds cool, until you realize he has zero idea how this new world works, and everyone's trying to either worship him or kill him. Kanai doesn't act like a traditional isekai protagonist. He doesn't scream, flail, or instantly collect fanservice tokens. No, he reacts to danger the way you'd expect a burnt-out game dev to, with mild annoyance and a desire to find peace and quiet. His overpowered moves feel less like flexing and more like bug-testing reality. Instead of forming a noble party or building a rebellion, Kanai ends up collecting some of the most bizarre companions in isekai history. A cursed orphan girl, a suspiciously loyal nun, and more morally questionable allies than you'd find in a late-night JRPG. It's like someone shuffled a villain deck and handed him every card. What makes the show stand out is how absurdly deadpan it is. Kanai will defeat an enemy with a flick of his finger, then go straight back to discussing supply logistics or building roads. He's terrifying, yes, but in a dad-on-his-day-off kind of way. The man is too tired to be evil, but the world keeps insisting he is. The world building is strange, sometimes deep, sometimes hilariously vague. One moment there's a serious plot about divine forces, the next a guy in a bunny mask challenges Kanai to a duel. And yet, somehow, it all fits. The pacing is slow, but it gives you time to appreciate the weird flavor of the setting and Kunai's slow shift from observer to ruler. So if you're looking for a king who doesn't crown himself, doesn't want followers, and doesn't even want to be there, but ends up running things anyway, Demon Lord, Retry delivers. It's awkward, offbeat, and completely unapologetic. The Demon Lord didn't choose the throne. The throne chose him, and he's just trying to keep the paperwork manageable. The ambition of Oda Nobuna. History. Samurai. And what if all the great leaders were women? Well, that's the ambition of Oda Nobuna, where the Sengoku era meets anime logic. Our story starts with a modern high schooler, Sagara, who gets yanked into a time travel twist that lands him right in the middle of the Sengoku period. Except, there's one major difference: all of the famous warlords. They're now teenage girls. And not just any girls, these ladies are as fierce, strategic, and deadly as the men they're based on. And it just so happens that Sagara lands smack in the middle of Oda Nobuna's camp, right when she's about to take the reins of the Oda clan. Nobuna, a reimagined version of the famous warlord Oda Nobunaga, is ambitious, ruthless, and totally in charge. But instead of being portrayed as a battle-hardened leader in traditional samurai armor, she's a young, fiery girl determined to make history on her terms. She doesn't need a sword to command, she needs strategy, brains, and a vision. And Sagara, he's not just a clueless bystander, he's the one with all the future knowledge that could potentially change the course of history. Sagara's job isn't just to sit there and admire Nobuna's genius, it's to help her make her dream of unifying Japan a reality. And his greatest weapon isn't a katana or magical ability, it's the history book in his mind. Armed with the knowledge of future events, he becomes her secret weapon. He's the guy who can predict betrayals, avoid wars that haven't happened yet, and create strategies that would make Sun Tzu proud. And no one, not even Nobuna herself, knows how to react to him. Opening square bracket. What sets the ambition of Oda Nobuna apart is that it's not just a history lesson with cute anime girls. It's the balance between historical accuracy, albeit with a lot of artistic liberties, and engaging character dynamics. You get to see these famous leaders reimagined with personalities that suit their respective roles but still feel like real people, people who love, fight, and betray. Nobuna, despite her overwhelming strength and intelligence, still has a youthful, almost naive side. Sagara, while intelligent, struggles with his feelings as he realizes that history isn't as simple as he thought. If he helps Nobuna too much, does he alter the future? What does he risk by changing even a single moment? Every decision carries the weight of potential consequences, and that moral dilemma adds depth to the show. The show explores Sagara's internal conflict. He's not just an observer in the past, he's someone who can actively shape the future, for better or worse. It's not about who has the most power on the battlefield, it's about knowing when to fight and when to negotiate. This mix of military strategy, political intrigue, and emotional stakes is what keeps the show grounded, even while we're watching historical giants reimagined as anime characters. What also stands out is the harem aspect. Yeah, there's a harem in this show, of course, there is. But unlike the typical, every girl falls for the protagonist trope, here it's more about trust and respect in a political and military context. Sagara's relationships with Nobuna and the other female generals evolve naturally, with each character playing a significant role in both his personal growth and the plot's advancement. So, if you love your historical fiction with a dash of anime magic, the ambition of Oda Nobuna is a perfect mix of military strategy, time travel, and reimagined history. It's a fun ride with a lot of heart, and maybe, just maybe, it'll make you wonder, what if history had turned out differently? What if the great warlords of the past had a few more tricks up their sleeves? The master of Ragnarok and blesser of Einherjar. So, you're trapped in a fantasy world. What do? Become a king, obviously. But what if the world's powered by Norse mythology, your only weapon is modern tech, and your army? A bunch of warrior maidens. Yeah, that's the master of Ragnarok and blesser of Einherjar. This one kicks off with Yuto, an average high schooler, who, after a weird selfie near an ancient mirror, gets sucked into a world based on Norse myths. The catch, he's not just a regular adventurer, he's instantly crowned king of a wolf clan. And while that might sound cool at first, Yuto's now got to juggle managing a tribe of fierce warriors, battling neighboring factions, and relying entirely on his smartphone for pretty much everything. Yuto's smartphone is honestly the best weapon he has. No magic, no swords, just 4G, infinite data, and an occasional Google search. He uses his phone to research everything from agriculture to military tactics, making his clan more advanced than any of the others around him. Suddenly, he's playing the role of a strategist who can transform his ragtag tribe into a nation without even breaking a sweat. Pretty op, right? Opening square bracket. Of course, it wouldn't be anime if there weren't also a harem of beautiful warrior maidens. But in true Yuto fashion, he's more interested in securing alliances and making sure his clan survives. These aren't just typical love interests, they're warriors in their own right, each with their own strengths and personalities. Some are loyal to a fault. Some have baggage, but they're all ready to follow Yuto into battle and politics. But it's not all about flashy battles or romance. The master of Ragnarok delves into the struggle of a teenager who didn't ask for this responsibility. Yuto spends a lot of his time learning how to balance diplomacy, culture, and resources, all while still trying to figure out how to stay alive in a world where every neighboring tribe wants him dead. And yes, he's doing all this while occasionally trying to understand what his growing harem wants from him. Talk about juggling priorities. The show's focus on leadership and kingdom building makes it stand out. Yuto isn't just a warrior king, he's a problem solver. He's always figuring out the best way to make things work for his people, even if it means getting creative with what little resources he has. Sure, sometimes he gets himself into a corner, but that's when the smartphone comes to the rescue. Seriously, if you ever find yourself in a Viking-themed fantasy world, make sure you bring a charger. At its core, the master of Ragnarok and blesser of Einherjar is about overcoming the odds and building a future. It's about taking a bunch of underdogs, underwolves, and giving them the tools to succeed. Sure, the concept is ridiculous. But somehow, Yuto makes it work. And by the end, you're left wondering if maybe being king in a mythical world isn't that bad, especially when you have a group of loyal warriors and a smartphone at your side.